working the guys really hard? Are you liking a few days in kind of the response physically that you've seen from them, keeping up with their fitness?
Yeah, I mean, the staff, we spent an extensive amount of time this offseason discussing how we were going to approach preseason, and there was two ways that we wanted to go about it. One was to get right into the tactics from day one. I've been through part of so many preseasons that it's a week and a half before you get into the tactics. We wanted it immediately. And the second one was we wanted to push them as hard as we can from the gate, out of the gate. And the most important thing to me was that they came back in shape. Every single one of them passed the test that we laid out in front of them. And that was my thing. I told them before we left is that I need you guys to work in the off season and come back so we could start in the right foot. So I'm extremely happy with the way things have been going. Again, it's only, I believe, 6 sessions in. But we've already laid out some groundwork, and physically, like today was the hardest one. We really pushed them, and I rewarded them with a day off tomorrow.
You talked about doing it tactically, establishing that right away. What do you think the benefit of that is?
Well, to me, 6 weeks might sound like a lot of time in a preseason, but when I lay out in front of me the schedule, how many practices, days off, games, which means day before the game, day after game is rather light. It's not a lot of time. So for me, it's very important to get it in their mind right away how we're going to play. Whether we get to every bit of that in the first week is irrelevant, just to get it in their mind. To me, it's incredibly important that they know how we're going to play right from the start.
Last year you had even less time when you kind of had to squish everything you wanted to do in your mini camp into a week off. What is the extra time and not having it in the middle of the season? Has that changed your approach?
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, we spent a lot of time in the off season, the coaches laying out. It wasn't just a one-day thing. We said, all right, we're going to work on this week, this next week. It was a day-by-day, minute-by-minute, session-by-session layout, and it took a long time. Couple that with how we came up with, the idea of how we want ourselves to play. That took a long time. So we were working sometimes 10, 12-hour days. So it's very important that I have this time. Last year I think that the little mini break that we had and the work we put in, I think it paid dividends down the stretch of the season. But to have this much time and to be able to sit back, already planned out, and on a day-to-day basis go back over what we did and what we want to do, it's massive.
The guys that were here last year ahead of the new guys in terms of understanding your system?
Of course, that's just not my system. That would be anywhere, any team, any sport. Guys who were with me for 8 months last year obviously have the groundwork laid out for them, and we talked about that as well. Things that we did well last year, we need to continue, and we outlined that, and then the new things we were laying on. So obviously the guys coming in, are starting from ground zero, but I'm not too worried about that, to be honest with you, because they're all good players, the ones that we brought in, so they'll catch up very quickly.
What do you get out of being able to mix both full squads?
I mean, from a selfish standpoint, gives me a lot of numbers, to work with, that we could accomplish everything. But also, like you said, we want to be fully aligned from our academy straight up to the first team, playing virtually the same. If not anything, the same objectives, the same characteristics. Obviously, when you get down to the academy level with the younger players, you want to expose them to a little bit more. For instance, they have to play at times a certain system that I probably never would play because it's part of their development. But when you get to the Monarchs and the first team, they have to be fully aligned. So to have those guys in, it gets them ahead of the curve leading into preseason. And we were in the situation that we were able to bring every one of the Monarchs in. So they should be flying from the start of their preseason.
Can you maybe just talk a little bit about, I guess, the evolution of the league, and you go into a season where teams are spending lots of money, big market teams, smaller market teams, different approaches. How have you seen really that change in the last decade from when you were playing to now?
It's hard to describe, to be honest with you. I mean, people from the outside looking in, I would probably even include yourself, that on the outside looking in and seeing these things, they seem huge. But from an insider's perspective, having been a part of, the very early stages of this league, it is mind-blowing to me. It's hard to comprehend some of the things, to turn around and see what Atlanta United has spent, what LAFC, what they're doing now. They're coming in with the new money. NYFC, teams like that, and the money they're spending, it's very much in line and close to a European mindset, you know, and I give the league a lot of credit for some of the things a lot of the things, if not all the things they've done from the beginning that a lot of people might have been angry with. You know, even me as a player at times, salary cap is too low, this and that. But I mean, look where we are right now. So, you know, they obviously know what they're doing. And to get to the stage we're at now, I mean, I can't wait to see what happens in the next 10 years. You know, where the salary cap goes to. You know, what the transfer fees are going to be, what owners are willing to spend. As long as the level of the league keeps going up, I think it's unbelievable.
Your first head coaching stint, you were in kind of the big market, and you're kind of in the small market now. Is either market viewed, I guess, differently when you're trying to attract foreign players?
Yes, absolutely. I've seen both sides of it, you know, from many aspects. And it's hard for me to say I enjoy one more than the other, but I could just very clearly say that I'm really enjoying my time here and really enjoying how this organization goes about things. You know, at times it makes guys like Craig, Dane, Andy, myself and the staff work extra hard in identifying players because we're not going to go out and spend $10 million on a player. But then if you talk about small market versus big market attracting players, I mean, look at this. I mean, this could be in Alaska, and I'd want to go play there. You know, so that to me doesn't matter. You know, if I want to throw one thing out there that I guess somewhat irks me is perhaps, well, let me say it again. It irks me on one aspect, but I'm happy on another. Is sometimes the lack of respect and the lack of attention, national attention, that a club like RSL gets. You know, and the one thing I could understand possibly about it is, hey, we're a results business. At the end of the day, we didn't make the playoffs last year. You know, and then you look and you see that there's 2 national broadcast games that we're getting. But then you go to the combine and you hear what all the coaches are saying to me and everybody down there, how we were the most exciting and best team down the stretch. You know, and then you look at a team like, I'm not going to say the team, but you could look at a team on the East Coast that was finished below us, and they have 16 national televised games. You know, perhaps they're in a bigger market. Those type of things bother me. But on the other side of that, I like it because I want to be the silent assassin. I want to be the team that people overlook, that people don't know so much about. So, you know, that's maybe I said too much there, but that's I got to say it. But overall, you know, part of me gets it, part of me wishes it was different.
Speaking of bringing in players from overseas, what are you seeing from the guys who've just come in, especially Alfredo? I know you're slowly working him in, but how do you feel about where they're at?
Well, I mean, Alfredo, we haven't seen really much of it yet, but obviously we did our homework on him, so we know what he's capable of and know where we want to get him to. And we're just going to take him, you know, easy. He's still recovering from the travel, altitude here, throw him on the turf. You know, guys like Aaron Herrera, Adam Henley, Sean Barry, just to name those guys, they've adapted well. You know, they've adapted well. They seem to be taken to the guys and taken to the system that we want to play. And every day I'm seeing little improvements and little ways that they're listening and putting into play, you know, what we want them to accomplish.
Altitude play into their adjustments because you guys are playing such a high altitude?
Yeah, I mean, I got traded to Colorado from DC, you know, in 2005, and it took me 2 months to get really fully adjusted. And I played a game 2 days after I landed. So I understand that aspect, and it's just one of those things that we have a good medical staff and a good strength and conditioning department that we trust in, and they have a plan that I buy into, and we're going to get them up to speed.